good day. I would like to first acknowledge my friends, Amber, and let me see if I can get you Max. Max! Hi, Max. You gonna come and say hi? You're a sweet boy. Thank you, Max. So I just wanted to acknowledge my sweet friends who are with me while I'm recording. They have an extra special sense of grounding that they bring to anything that I'm doing at any time. If they're nearby and they want to be pet, my hand automatically touches their sweet head or back and like has a the animal's spine is parallel with the earth, whereas our spine is perpendicular to the earth, right? Like this. And so they have such a special, mysterious grounding force with their spines being parallel, aligned to the ground. So anyways, that's not what this video is about. Welcome to another Loved by the Water session. This is not a geomancy video. Hey buddy, that's loud. Let me take this off of you. Let me take that off. There you go. You wanna sniff that? This is not a geomancy video, which many of my Loved by the Water videos, maybe half of them, have been geomancy exploring the Susquehanna River, which is quite possibly the body of water that inspired Loved by the Water, as almost everything in my life has led me up to the discovery of the Susquehanna River and the Susquehanna mystery through Michael, my beloved. And yeah, always just noticing that I've always been by a mysterious body of water that I have some type of innate connection with, which was kind of like in the background conditioning me all along to when I met the Susquehanna River and all of her mystery. It was almost like I was primed for receiving. And so yeah, so with Michael and with Susquehanna Alchemy, which is, I don't know if he would say this, but I think of Susquehanna Alchemy as, you know, it's a mystery and a mission that Michael created. But Susquehanna Alchemy, to me, is really a community of people who are dedicated or devoted to the praise and worship of the Susquehanna River and the discovery of all of the mystery that is available. And when you open up to it, magical things just start happening in your life. So yeah, so a lot of the geomancy work I've been doing has been with Susquehanna Alchemy, which is not just Michael, but it's a community of people. And the last ceremony that I did with Michael, so that I guess the Loved by the Water essence that I bring into the ceremony, and that the teaching and the form that Susquehanna Alchemy brings via the bodies in the community, via Michael's research and teachings, together, the last time we were all together was Beltane, just this past Wednesday, May 1st. And Michael's book, The Rites of the 40th Parallel, the fourth rite is Falmouth. And I did a little video on Falmouth here on this channel. And so that's where we were. We were in Falmouth, and that rite of passage is focused on integration. So our ceremony was focused on integration. And I'm sitting here now, just 2 days later, Friday morning, very peaceful spring morning here in Mannheim, Pennsylvania, with these sweet little doggies. Oh, there's Tessa. She just walked by. She's another one of the crew, or pack. I think pack is more appropriate for dogs. And so much is just coming and pouring through. Like when I was in my early hours of sleep, early hours of waking, and I sat down with the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which is something that I picked back up again as a process of integrating goddess teachings. So I grew up being taught all about God, in the Judeo-Christian evangelical form, right? So there's that. And so now I feel like that was given to me, and that means that I've had my whole adult life to learn the goddess teachings or the goddess culture, and not to forsake what was given to me as I was growing, but to weave them together and to see where they are different and where they are similar, and to maintain those differences and those similarities. Because what we were learning together in the ceremony about integration, and what I'm learning from Michael's fourth rite, of the rites of the 40th parallel, and what I'm learning from a lot of spaces, from the power within the land, kind of my Celtic ancestry, learning that there's this surprise element. There's this integration deserves its own thread, its own spoke on the wheel, if you will. The rites of the 40th parallel are the goddess cycle, which is 3 stages, whether you're looking at it as maiden, mother, crone, or destruction, creation, preservation. If you're looking at it as masculine, feminine, and the middle path, there's this 4th element. And if you're coming at it from the native medicine wheel, there are 4 spokes on the medicine wheel. But as I listened to the forest, while I was opening to traditional and old Celtic medicine teachings, I received, and then later learned through didactic mental research, that the Celtic medicine wheel, I'm not sure if they call it a medicine wheel, it's the star. There's 5 spokes, because they name ether or spirit as its own separate element or direction on the wheel. And so when you put the traditional native medicine wheel next to the Celtic medicine wheel, there is this there is a difference, and there are similarities, right? Because it's the 4 elements in both. And then the difference being that the Celtic maybe is an older, I'm not for certain, but it is maybe rooted in a much older wisdom tradition. Maybe, I'm not sure. And I'm saying this because that aspect of ether is akin to the 4th rite of passage in the rites of the 40th parallel, where ether is the element that is infused and spirals and weaves all of the elements together, and it is alive in all of the plants and all of the animals, and it is not any one of the 4 elements, but it is an element of its own, in which all of the elements are always present and being woven in a spiral DNA kind of structure. So yeah, so there is this, we live in this dualistic paradigm where we can see, integration shows us that we can see opposites as complementary. And I'm literally reading that right out of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, with commentary that I opened up this morning. And the author is talking here about, let me just read this line. Let man not separate what God has united. So that's a quote from the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And the author says, this theme, which recurs often in early Christian texts before Constantine, urges us not to live in the torments of dipsuchia, that's the Latin word, which means duplicity of soul. When we are able to see opposites as complementary, we have taken a step toward oneness with the Son, or if you prefer, toward true maturity. And there's so much I've been learning about opposites. And we kind of brought that aspect into ceremony this past week, where I asked people, what thread are you weaving in to the power of this land? And then as they answered, I'd say, okay, and the opposite. So put your mind and embody and transfer to the water, in the water weaving aspect of the ceremony, both and. The thread that you are desiring, and then its opposite dance partner. And so here this is showing up as let man not separate what God has united. So it's just showing that there's this intelligence in dualism, where dualism is, generally seen in where we are at today as, it's kind of a bad thing. It separates us. It makes things difficult, right, to have body and mind separate. But I have learned through the medicine wheel of both native tradition of Celtic, from my Celtic ancestry, from the rites of the 40th parallel representing the 3 distinct stages, and then the 4th rite representing the amalgamation of both and all as a very important and separate rite. That this dualism, or this separation, is not bad, It actually is a mechanism that points us back to the magic of it, if that makes sense. There is magic in being in this realm of dualism, right? You could say just that the earth experience is a realm of dualism. And it's not like we need to erase dualism from the realm, or from the experience of being human. Rather, this just tiny little section of gospel that I've been working with this morning, one of the lines says, Mary Magdalene says, he is calling upon us to become fully human. And so in this realm, dualism and the separation of our aspects is a part and a process of becoming fully human. We can't deny this trueness and this realness of being in a dualistic realm, and of being in a body that is actually separate. Like, we are actually separate bodies from each other, and we are separate from the trees and the animals. But it doesn't stop there. In fact, dualism is a magic that actually just points us deeper into seeing and respecting and honoring the separateness of the aspects, because in their separateness, there is an invitation for us to use these power sources for weaving and swirling and dancing, all of them together. And I think that's what we've been missing. We being, me, my community, humanity. It's something that the Gospel of Mary Magdalene repeats over and over in different ways. Miriam, or Mary Magdalene, is in the text here. She is named by the author as becoming simple in this sense, because she practices and embodies the teachings. They don't stay here. They come down fully into her body, and she works this tool of integration. And almost honors the fourth rite and honors the fifth sacred thing in the Celtic ancient medicine wheel. Not to say that the teachings of, the I guess it's the Kabbalah, the left, the right, and the middle path, or the native four direction medicine wheel. There's nothing missing or lacking, because there's probably an inherent uprising and organic emergence of knowing and seeing and feeling in oneself that this is just a framework, a thought form. And I bring the fifth sacred thing. I bring the integration vessel of my being. And the Celtic medicine wheel, the five-pointed star, just happens to, framework and thought form and theoretically represent that, like, out in front of one's eyes. And Michael just happened to, in the rites of the 40th parallel, as he was studying and receiving the geomancy of the land, just happened to say, like, well, wait, yes, yes, yes. And then also there's this fourth rite at Falmouth, and it's worthy of me putting down its own section in the book and its own kind of mystery to be journeyed, to be walked and visited. So all, and yes, I just want to make sure that's clear, that there isn't anything missing in any of this. There's just a preference for some wisdom traditions or authors to include out loud in spoken word the fifth or additional, like whatever that extra oomph, which is the integration magic. So, there's probably more I'm going to share from the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. But first I want to go to this thought I had about permaculture. And so the more complicated, in permaculture theory, the more complicated the human system is that's imposed upon the land, the more complicated the design, the more complicated the implementation, the more natural devastation occurs. Just like simply monocropping, like that's a heavy amount of complex human design imposed upon the land. Excuse me. The more humans lean into this allowance and the technology, which I'm going to go into a little bit, of just allowing the landscape to be as it is and let it go naturally, and the least amount of effort on the part of the human, right? Like low amount of energy, low amount of machinery, low amount of toil and strife from the human being. When that happens, what we see on the landscapes and in the culture of the land is that it becomes more complex. So with humans, it's a complicated design. With nature, it's a complex design. And I'm going to go into those differences in a moment. So the more complex the natural design becomes when humans drop their complicated designs. So maybe I'll say a little bit about that now. Complication is created. It's generated. Complex exists. It just is. When it's allowed to be, it flows. And the flow that's simple. Like, to just kind of flow and allow is a simple, easeful experience and process. Complicated requires effort and strife and an intense amount of energy output. So there are the differences between those two words. And so the return in permaculture, the return to that natural complex system, it involves going through stages of immense imbalance. You know, as the systems are working out, the balance, the restoration of the balance that once was before the complications got embedded upon it. And so just an example of this would be letting the grass grow. That's such a hot, if you know me personally, that's such a hot button topic of mine. And letting the grass grow generally for most people means more bugs, more rodents. You know, it's like, well, hold on, that's going to invite a whole host, a whole new set of problems. But I think that's short-sighted, because as you invite more bugs, you invite more predators of those bugs. And as you invite more rodents, you invite more birds of prey. And now you're inviting a return to this complex natural system, but it will require patience on behalf of the master who has imposed complication. Now, here is the real punchline. Guess what? We, the masters, we are that natural system too, right? Going back to that separation, honoring the separation, and also using the power of these body, mind, heart, soul, sacred elements that we are that natural system too. You know, we are separate from it, and we have a relationship with it that needs honor and needs careful attunement to. And then also, we are that natural system. We are so deeply integrated in with it, whether we like to admit it or not, that we are it. We are, you know, without the trees doing it, their transformation of CO2 to O2. I don't know if those are the right letters and numbers. Without that, you know, our lungs, the breath that we breathe, which is basically keeps our life force running, and the plants that, well, I know this is debatable now because of food being literally created in laboratories, but at the base, the plants and the animals being nourishment to our bodies and keeping the elements on the most like basic level, I'm speaking energetically here, keeping the elements alive and rich in our bodies. So we are that natural system, which means as we become less complicated and return to an embodied primal way of life, rhythm, alignment, it's going to come with an immense amount of imbalance along the way. And I don't have any insight right now into how many civilizations it's going to take for humanity to be going through all these stages and this process of imbalance. I just know that this morning I received an immense amount of hope from the ceremony on integration, this kind of understanding permaculture and the land and the power exchanges, and coming into a different relationship with power, that, you know, all of this strife and despair and dismay of humanity is really a gift showing us that we are in a process of returning to, you know, if we all can keep this in our field, we are in a process returning to a naturally complex system and stasis, where we are the fifth sacred thing, and we are turning in the medicine wheel or in the star, seamlessly and effortlessly and the exchange of energy is balanced. On the macro scale, what to me that looks like is that we are going through many different rise and falls of civilizations, amalgamations of societies, where these imbalances are working themselves out. And if we can maintain this patience, respect, and love for the process in ourselves as a microcosm, then we can have a hope and we can go forward with the what Mary Magdalene calls the nous, the knowing, the higher knowing from beyond this realm of matter, that we're on our way. And if we're on our way, we're already there, right? Because timelines are a human construct, this like linear thing. So if we know it exists in the future, we are already there and it is in us. And that gives us like oomph and inspiration to apply ourselves to this very simple practice that we see all throughout our realm, that when you put a seed in the ground, let me read it. It's in here. We are the anthropos. So anthroposophy being the study of what it is to be human, anthropos being the essence of what it is to be fully human. We are this anthropos, both already and not yet. Already and not yet. Just as the acorn is both already and not yet the oak tree in all its splendor. And so, just going back to the power within the land and the power in the matter and density of this realm, that when we plant seeds, they go into a dark place, hidden, unknown, and a mysterious thing happens. And we can call that an acorn seed, we can call it a pumpkin seed. It doesn't call itself anything. It's just a tiny little bundle of energy that does magic in the darkness and grows into something. And so in the next video, I'm going to demonstrate how it doesn't matter what the seed or the root of creation is. We bring judgment, saying sadness, tiredness, frustration, strife, despair, dismay, those are bad. Those are low vibrational or negativity. But it doesn't matter what you call it. If your seed is that, and you allow it to be planted, which is integration, if you allow, include, people speak of like, let go of your pain and, plant it in the earth or send it down the water. Yes, but guess what? You are that river and you are that land. Remember, we are the natural system. And so call it whatever you want, but whatever you call it, bring honor and love and respect to that seed, no matter what it is, because it's going to go into the river of your being. It's going to go into the earth of your soul, and it's going to create something. And so in the next video, I'm going to give a demonstration of, in Loved by the Water, Michael and I have been doing this podcast where each season is evolving. If you're loved by the water, you're ruled by the moon. In being ruled by the moon, you are mastered by motion, cosmic, microcosmic, etc. And in the future season, I'm already recording Held by the Goddess, which is the seed being held in the darkness and void of the magic of the earth. So in the next video, I'm going to give a demonstration of how ruled by the moon for me is a whole other kind of set I created a course and a zine called Moonlit Mind. And to me, having a moonlit mind is having a loved by the water heart. So I'm going to make another video to demonstrate this highly complex weaving of teachings from both recent ceremony, from permaculture, from like those special glittery waking moments of this day, and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. So I hope I didn't forget anything. I'm trusting that everything that needed to come through has come through, and that you'll receive this teaching as something of your own making. And I'm just, again, a part of the natural system that has been specifically challenged to allow these things to come through my mouth and be shared. So thank you for being a part of the process by being a witness and a listener.